So, in this part, he says, if I read a few lines from here, it says, whose woods these are, I think, I know. His house is in the village though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with the snow. My little horse must think it's queer, it's awkward to stop without a farmhouse near, between the woods and the frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harmless bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flakes. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep and miles to go before I sleep. Wonderful poem. So, in the end, the speaker seems to express a strong desire to stay in that dark, tranquil, quiet forest. But he evidently feels compelled also to keep moving because he has some kind of promise that he needs to keep. We do not know if he has more stops he must make perhaps, or if he is expected to reach a certain place in that night. Whatever it is, we don't know. This promise means that he must continue to travel a great deal further before he is able to stop and truly rest. The fact the speaker repeats this final idea that he has a long way to go before he can sleep seems to indicate a good deal of regret that this is the case. He wants to go on. He wants to stop here and enjoy that, that atmosphere, that tranquil, that quietness. But at the same time, he has to move on. He has to go before he sleeps. There's a lot of work to be done. We can take it into his life also. Sometimes dark things come into our life. A place where we stop, so many problems, so much of hallucination, so much of issues, so much of tension, it comes into our life. But we have to go on. We have to move on before we sleep. Here sleep, he says that before he dies, a lot of work to be done, a lot of promises he's kept, a lot of dreams to fulfill. The speaker here is overwhelmed. He is appreciating the beauty and wonder of nature even in the dark. Sight of the snowfields, they have become white in the dark and you are seeing totally white. He stops to enjoy it. He must move on. However, he has to go on. In the opening of the poem, it's identifying the settings as woods in the winter. Now the speaker knows the owner of those woods, of that wood. Knowing that he'll not mind, because I spend a moment to watch the snow fall in his land. And he stays in the village, far away from here. So this is what it is all about. If we take it this way, it is in his mind, that he has miles to go. He has miles to go before he sleeps. He cannot rest. He cannot stop to rest. So pressing are his responsibilities that he actually repeats this twice at the end of the poem. And miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. He's got promises. He knows that his promises must be kept, his responsibilities met. We have responsibilities in life now, right? However, he cannot help but be arrested by the beautiful and tranquil sight of this deep dark woods with filling up with snow. Darkest night of the year, and the downy flakes, the soft flakes, they're like feathers when they fall snow, blows gently through the lovely dark deep forest. He's awed, by the sight of these dark woods and the pure white snow, that he stops, and even his horse is a little bit confused because his master has stopped. He's used to the routine and knows that they would not normally stop without a farmhouse near. Horses are also trained, right? They know things. Thus, one theme of the poem is that the beauty and tranquility of nature can provide a respite from the demands of society and work. Nature is such a thing that we stop, we just put away all work and we want to see nature. It's God's created thing, right? That how we go ahead in life. We have so many troubles in life, but the nature tries to soothe us. It changes our mind, it changes our thinking, it changes the way we eat, the way we talk, the way we want to feel things. Right? This is all about the poem. In a very easy way, I gave it to you. I guess I won't be able to give it in a much more easier way. Or if we can say it, yes, I can give it in this way also, or I can say it in another way. We have it like the analysis, The speaker thinks about who owns the woods that he or she is passing through, and is fairly sure that knowing the landowner of this place. However, the owner is far away in the village and he won't mind, and he is not physically capable of seeing the speaker pause and watch the snow fall in his forest. You are not supposed to stand in someone else's, you might be trespassing. You cannot stand on someone else's land and just waste time. The speaker thinks also of the horse. Must find it strange to stop so far away. Any signs of civilization, suddenly you stop at a place. Indeed, they are surrounded only by the forest and the frozen lake, and on the longest night of the year. The horse shakes the bells of its harness as if it's asking the speaker, made a mistake here by stopping. Oh. The only other sound besides the ringing of these bells is that the wind of the falling snowflakes, which the speaker likens to the feathers of goose down. Now, he finds the woods very alluring, it's very scintillizing or very appealing to him. With the darkness, how the vast and all encompassing, they seem in the dark, how the speaker has the obligations to fulfill elsewhere. He has to move on in life. Though he would like to stay and rest, but he has many more miles to go before that he can rest. So that is the main possible. So nature versus society. Stopping and watching snow while it's falling, riding a horse through the woods at night. While alone in the forest, the speaker reflects on the natural world and its implicit contrast with the society. Natural world itself depicts itself lovely and overwhelming. And when you go into the society, it's dark, cold, it's good. Both nature is a both tempting and threatening force. And we try to tame ourselves, it's while also offering this respite from the demands of civilized life, We want to live a civilized life, but we have to be into many demands there are to be civilized. But in this nature, such beautiful, so civilized. The natural world is distinctly separate from human society. That's what he's trying to say. Now, in the human society, he wants to go and stand somewhere, someone might stop him. So here there is no one to stop him. The owner's house is in the milling. That means he will not see the speaker. the human impulse to dominate the natural world is misguided here. They just stop and see on someone else's land, he won't be able to see me, that I'm trespassing his land. Society and nature, difference. There are no farmhouses nearby. The only sound apart from the harness of the bells and the speaker of his horse and that of the wind. And he's standing on someone else's place. The physical isolation indicates the impotence. In other words, people can say they own land all they want, but that doesn't really mean anything when those people aren't around. Isn't it? So that's what is all about life, he's trying to say. When we are in between ourselves, we have so many do's and don'ts are there. Society demands so many things in life. We have to keep on doing it. We have so many things to do in life. I just can't stop and enjoy the nature. I have to go on. My life has to go on. People have to struggle to find amidst the stimulation of the society. We have to struggle with the society to go ahead and live. Duties of life. Before I die, there are a lot of things to do. I just cannot stand here and watch on someone else's land. Okay. This is it. Try to read through the poem and try to solve the question answers. And if you have problems, I'm always there. So it's a wonderful poem. I gave you a brief explanation and I hope you like it. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye bye. God bless.